everybody. It's great to be here with you tonight. You guys ready? It's fantastic to be able to come and present some of the conversations that we should really have at home, but we don't have them. Tonight is my intention to really rock and roll, as I say, to rattle the cage. So I would like you to stick with me and come along for a journey. The truth is, I really believe that you have been hypnotized to fail financially. See, over the years, we have had the privilege of interviewing thousands of people across Australia about this thing called wealth creation. For most people, wealth is something that lives outside, is a maybe, a tomorrow thing. And yet, for some people, it actually happens. So where is the code? Where is the conversation in which you can actually engage and bring it from here to here and actually make it happen? What I'd like to do is to explore some of the conversations that we should have at home, but we actually don't. We actually do not talk about these things. A friend of mine once said that by the time you are 20 years of age, you had literally thousands and thousands of conversations with your financial advisor, that is your parents. But you see, your parents also had thousands and thousands of conversations with their financial advisors, which were their parents. See, the conversation about making money and making the switch of money working for you versus you working for money, it doesn't work. And this is what we're here to do, is to make it work, is to make it flow. So let's just get it going and make it happen tonight. So once again, thank you so very much for coming and spend the evening with us. I really appreciate your company. Thank you very much. So does money work for you? See, the whole conversation here is this. You work for money, don't you? Now, why? Why did this conversation begin when somebody said you have got to work for money? Think about it for a second. Someone may think I'm crazy for exploring it that way. Julia, who doesn't work for money? But think about it for a second. Your parents told you when you were little, go and get an education. Why? So you could get the best possible job. See, a job, basically, if somebody says to you, go and get a good job, by definition, that's a job where you get paid a lot of money per hour. See, in that conversation alone, there is no wealth creation in that at all. Think about it. The majority of people you know, what they do is, regardless of what the job they have, they will always match their income to the expenses that they have. Right? So if you start a life on 50 grand, you will match your expenses to 50 grand, your bills to 50 grand. Oh, you got a pay rise, you went to 80. Or you now sitting on 150,000. So now you spend 150,000. And that's what we see people do all the time, is that the only information that they have about going ahead in life financially is to get a job, is to get a good job. But getting a good job is actually very limiting. So you know why? Because if you're going to match your expenses to what you earn and just live life in parallel like this, there is no wealth creation in this. It's a switch called, does money work for you? See, if we were to sit together and have that chat about, does money work for you? I think the best way for me to illustrate this is, imagine we're just sitting together and having a coffee. And you actually showed up at JDL on that inquiry. For you and your family, you decided it's time for us to go ahead in life financially. And we got a time together and we're having a coffee. And I said to you something like this. What have you got in place, cause and effect? What have you got in place that is going to put away $1 million? What is your strategy, your specific plan of action to put $1 million away? See, we have done these interviews and conversations across Australia. It doesn't matter if I'm in Perth, in Melbourne, in Adelaide, in Sydney, in Brisbane, in Darwin. Every single time I ask this question, people seem to glaze. And that's what I call the hypnosis, because the glaze comes from, I have got a job. See, we are psychologically satisfied with the job. So once you get a job, you actually get trapped into this thing, where you keep always matching Then comes a guy with an accent and says to you, what are you specifically doing to put $1 million away? And people glaze. See, but there is actually a result to this conversation. Cause and effect. What part of the equation are you in? See, if you are not focusing on the cause, what's going to be the effect or the impact for your family? Think it this way. If you want to retire on $50,000, all right? So if you want to say, tonight I retire and I would like to have my house paid for, have a decent car, and life is happening, and yet you would like to have $1,000 a week coming in so you could live a decent life, travel, perhaps visit friends and family. See, you would have to have $1 million put away to have that 50 grand come in. Does it make sense? See, if you had $1 million invested at 5%, that's your 50 grand. That's what that is. And so many people show up at JDL, and listen to this carefully. They are 46 years of age. They have a house worth around $500,000. They owe $200,000 on it. And they have 150 grand in super. And they're telling us that they would like to retire in 10 years or so, maybe 15 years. Can you see the distinction? What that person is actually saying is, I have not put any money away. And I don't know how. Now, we are very clear that the majority of people, so that's why I'm so glad that all of you came here. It's fantastic to have this room full of people. Because right here tonight, you're making the distinctions. And I promise you, if you make those distinctions and you take it out of here and take into your life, it will transform the way you see money. And that is my purpose. This is what JDL is about. I am about transforming the average person into becoming multimillionaires by simply understanding that they live in the best country that there is. So back to the story. So you're 46, huh? Does it take 26 years worth of work to figure out that we are not accumulating? That perhaps the only thing we have is this house we're struggling to pay for? That's why I said we're going to struggle right through life. But tonight we rattle the cage. I am going to explore with you some of the concepts that you should talk about at home. And yet it doesn't happen. I know it doesn't happen because of the volume of clients we have had over the years, and it seems news to them. So let's keep going with this. What have you done to put $1 million away? Because you too will show up and say, I got a house that is just paid for, I have some money in super, and then suddenly we're going to figure out that you simply haven't put enough money away. Let me put it to you this way. How many Australians do you think are going to be able to retire totally self-funded? Give me a percentage. How much? Yeah. 5%. It's interesting to know that in a room like this, people start quoting figures, and the figures are small figures. No one is saying most of us. And yet you lived in Australia your entire life, and then the statistics tell us that only 5% of Australians are going to make it financially. What is going on? How come people come from overseas, come here and see Australia as this amazing, amazing country? And that's why, to me, the ride here has just been incredible. And it's my passion to teach others what Australia has done for me and my family, and for our businesses and our business associates, and for the people that are in our lives.